Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. How is everybody doing? I hope you guys are doing amazing. On my last video, I talked about how I was able to move out of my house at 19 and moving in with my boyfriend. Today, I want to talk about what it was like moving in with my boyfriend and how I was able to adapt. And I just want to tell you some things that you should know before you move in with your boyfriend, or if you're trying to move with someone else, maybe your best friend or a couple of friends have roommates. And I just want to give you some tips and some advice, since I have been living with my boyfriend now for almost 3 years, so I feel like I kind of know the ropes of what it's like to live with your significant other and things that you should watch out for. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. First thing that I want to say is that once you move in with someone, it's going to be very difficult. My mom used to say all the time that you never know a person till you live with them. So it doesn't matter how well you think you know your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you're never going to truly know what they're like till you move in with them. And sometimes you might not like what you see or might like their lifestyle. So it is going to be very difficult. For some people it might not be. So for some people it might be easy. For me it was quite a journey and quite a struggle. And so when you move in with somebody, it's not you anymore, it's both of you. So you kind of have to think about both of you two as a whole and kind of just like one person. You have to take into account everyone's feelings. So you have to take their feelings into consideration, and of course they have to take your feelings into consideration, and that it comes into play when you're making a decision or when you're trying to change stuff. You know, you have to talk about all these things. But here's the thing, just because you are just a unit now, this is what I used to call David and I. David and I had quite a struggle figuring out that we were just one, because David used to always just think about himself as like just him, and he would just make decisions on his own, and it was just like me, and I would be like, no, like you have to think of both of us. Like everything now concerns both of us. So I used to call us the unit. But I just want to say, just because you are a unit and just because you are together and you're just one person, you are still allowed to have your own life. I honestly think that having your own space and doing your own things is a good thing too. You can't just always be with that person every single day 24/7 and not let them go out with their friends, or them not let you go out with your friends. I think it's really important for you to go out with your friends and have a life of your own and not fully submerge yourself into just one person, just because then you would just get sick and you'll feel stuck, and then you're not gonna want to be with that person because you're just with them all the time. David has times where he goes out with his friends, and I am totally okay with that. At first, when I was younger, I'll be like, oh my god, he's leaving me to go hang out with his friends. But now I'm just like, please go out with your friends. I was like, you should go out with your friends, like go have fun, go do something. And I like staying home and chilling with Juniper and myself and my own thoughts. Like that is great. And also I like to hang out with my friends, where we go out and have dinner and do little things here and there. Like that's important. Having your own space and your own time to do things is great. Also, if you have hobbies and stuff, that's also really good. I used to have nothing to do for a while, and so when David would go out and stuff like that, I would be upset because I didn't have anything that I did. Now I like to film videos, I like to paint, I have a couple of things that I love doing. So when he goes out, I'm like, I'm actually really happy that he is going out and having his own thing, so then he can clear his mind, and it's just a great thing. So I think allowing yourself to do things that you love and giving yourself some space and hang out with some friends, some other different people, that's good. Another thing that I want you to prepare for when you move in with somebody is you're going to argue probably a lot. David and I used to argue when we first started our relationship quite a lot. We did long distance, but long distance is rough. If you're doing long distance, I feel for you, because it's probably one of the hardest things I have ever done in my whole life. Once we moved in together, we weren't arguing about the same things we were arguing when we didn't live together. Now we're arguing about a whole different thing. So you have to prepare yourself. Just because you move in with someone doesn't mean moving in is going to fix all your problems. If anything, it's going to resurface or bring up more problems that you have to work on, such as like finances. Who is paying for what? Are you doing half and half, or is someone paying a little bit more than the other person? Are you combining all the bills? You know, that's a conversation that you need to have. Also, where's your stuff gonna go? Who's gonna have more space to put all their clothes? Or who's washing the dishes? Or who's gonna clean the bathroom? Who's gonna clean the living room? Who's gonna clean the room? Are you guys taking turns, or is it just one person doing all of this stuff? So all of that is just little problems that are gonna gonna come up in your relationship because you live together. These things won't ever come up if you don't live together, because you know your own schedule, you know your own routine, and you know what you do by yourself. But once you live with somebody, it's like you have to think of who's gonna do what. And that brings me to my next point. Communication is key, and I used to be really bad at communicating and expressing my thoughts to David especially. So I think that if you start communicating and maybe even having like weekly check-ins where you just sit down with a person and you talk about everything that's bothering you or things that you need to change. Like if you, I don't know, need help cleaning, make sure you tell that person, because people can't guess. Like you can't, especially me, like if you don't tell me what's wrong, I'm not gonna guess. Like I don't know. It's gonna go over my head, and then you're just gonna keep being mad, and I'm never gonna know what's wrong. So be sure that you're communicating and expressing your feelings and letting that person know what is wrong, what you need, what needs to get done, what you need from them, because they're not, I promise you, they probably don't even know that you're upset. So you have to tell them, and also allow them to tell you what's bothering them, and try to understand, try to compromise. Compromising is really good. When I first moved in with David, we lived in a really small apartment. The room was tiny, and mind you, in that room we had a queen size bed, we had a dresser, a desk, and a piano in that room. And so when I moved in, there was no space for any of my stuff. Like there was zero space, and I only brought one luggage with me when I moved in with David, and there was zero space. So what we compromised on was we got a bin, or like a little box for David to put the stuff that he didn't use as much, and we'll put all his stuff there, and we put it under the bed, so then I could at least have some space in the dresser so that I could put my clothes. So he put himself in my shoes, like dang, she has no space where to put her stuff, let me put my things down and under the bed so then she could have some space. Also, I understand that it was his stuff, and you know, I didn't want him to throw the stuff away, so we just kept it under the bed, and we still have this stuff. Like it's still here with us. When we moved, we brought it with us. So compromising is really good. Try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and vice versa, so then you can better understand them. My last tip is be patient. I think communication and being patient, I think sometimes we get so caught up in like we want things to be good now, we want things to be better now, we want everything now, but we need to sit there and just be patient and know that it's going to get better. It's just going to take time. I am pretty sure it took David and I like a year, maybe a little bit longer, to get adjusted and to really truly be like, have like a similar lifestyle where we are able to coexist in the same space and not have issues. Like we don't really argue anymore. Like David and I can't remember the last argument we had, but it's because we have gotten so good with communicating and like expressing ourselves with each other that we don't argue anymore. But it took time. It took us a year, like I said, but it's been truly 3 years since I moved in with him. So it's kind of like after 3 years, everything is just so good. I am so happy that I moved in with him. I wouldn't have it any other way. I think I was really young. I was 19 when I moved in with him. He was 20. I think we were extremely young, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I think we're doing great. Anyways, you guys, just to recap everything, I want to say allow yourself to be your own person, and don't forget that you are your own person and you live for yourself, and do your own thing, do your own hobbies, do what you love. But also don't forget that you guys are now a unit, and you should consult with each other when making decisions and stuff like that, because it might affect the other person. So just make sure that you remember that, while also remembering that you can do your own thing and you're not tied down to anything. Remember, arguments will come, but just try to stay calm and honestly try to figure out what are the other person's triggers and try to work on that for yourself, because I know that there's certain things that will trigger David, and I just try to avoid those things just because I don't want to trigger anybody and I don't want to start anything. So once you know your person and you know what bothers them, then you can work on yourself to not do those things. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then your person can also figure out what bothers you so they won't do it either. I know there's a bunch of things that I don't like that David just, you know, he has worked on for me to be, you know, for me to feel better and all of that stuff. So that's a whole nother thing. But remember, arguments will be there. You just have to get through it, and you just have to communicate. So make sure you're communicating all your thoughts, anything that comes into your mind. If there's a sock on the floor and you don't like that sock on the floor, be like, hey, there's a sock on the floor, do you mind picking it up? I know it's yours? Or like, do you mind not doing this, please? Because it really bothers me and affects me. I used to be bothered if I came home and the bed wasn't made because it would just trigger me. So now the bed is made, and I was like, hey, like, I just want you to know that when the bed is not made and I come home and the bed is not made, it really puts me down. It really puts me down. So then now the bed is always made. I make it if I'm the last one, or David makes it. Whoever gets a chance to make the bed will make the bed. And that's something that I communicated. And my last tip is to be patient with each other. Patience is key. Also, patience takes a lot of patience. Being patient takes a lot of patience. But it's a really good skill to have as a person, I believe, is to be patient and be considerate of other people's feelings. Great thing. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Just so you know a little bit of backstory, I moved in with David when I was 19. We moved into an apartment, and then when I was 20, we were able to get a house, which is where we live now. We have more space, so I feel like we coexist better now that we have more space, just because he has his own office, and so he's in his office and no one bothers him, and he just stays there, and we just have more space to move around and have more things. So yeah, and we've been living together now for 3 years, which is insane. I wouldn't have imagined myself living with somebody for so long, but at the end of the day, it's a great thing. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section. I would love to answer any of your questions, or if you need advice on moving in with anybody. But yeah, other than that, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you on my next video.